Welcome to the Web3 Waves Demo Day, where we're making waves in Web3. Web3 Waves Demo Day is bringing the world of Web3 together, where game-changing Web3 startups, founders meet and get working capital from the most ambitious VCs in the space. This event today is presented by RN01. RN01 is an experienced design agency for tech and Web3 brands of the future. You can learn more about RN01 at rno1.com. I'm your host today, Michael Gaizutis, also creator of the Web3 Waves Demo Day and podcast, and founder of RN01. We're so excited to be here with everybody. We have a great group of people here today from all sides of the world of Web3, along with a special guest, Scott Page. Scott, it's great to have you here. You're in the spotlight.
This is exciting. You know, first of all, I love startups. I've been a startup guy myself multiple times, and it's one of my favorite things is actually working with startups. So thank you very much for having me. I'm excited to be here.
Absolutely. It's great to have you here. We're stoked that you're making this cameo with us today, and thrilled to have your POV on everything we're building out here with our startups and our founders. We're also joined by Tony Drummond as a quick intro set. Tony is a Web3 expert. We have Anthony as a Web3 investor. We also have Mackenzie, another Web3 investor, and Nelly, a Web3 investor, on the investment side, investment panel. As presenting companies, we have Elias from HearMeChear, we have Sammy from EtherScore, and we have Michael from GetChkd. Really, really exciting stuff happening as we mentioned. And, we're going to be doing a lot of things here at Web3 Waves. And today is a special event. So we have Scott, we have the startups, the founders, we have the investors, of course. But in addition, we have something exciting, a little bit of a pitch contest, if you will. For today's event, it's super interesting because after each pitch is made, we want to give everybody the opportunity in an anonymous way, true Web3, if you will, to vote in for who they think gave the best pitch, the most exciting pitch, the most exhilarating pitch, something that they think was game-changing, if you will, making waves in this space. So we'll be sure to link that up as a live contest poll within the chat, so be sure to check for that when all pitches are done. We're live streaming this event in Discord as always, so lots of things happening. We're getting our community involved and engaged. After this event, live streams will be moving to YouTube and making sure that everyone can see this in a post-recorded sense and share it along the way. So please feel free to join and contribute in our Web3 Waves Discord community. The link will be in the chat. We'd love to get everybody's feedback after the event in Discord. And of course, all the Web3 startups, the investors, Scott, of course, you too. We'd love to get you guys sharing and exchanging information to make sure that everybody is looped in and growing their own network, which is the best way to build this thing here. So let's get started. We're excited to go through the motions here and get everybody talking and presenting and sharing and, of course, exchanging. So with that in mind, Elias, I'd love to turn this over to you at HearMeChear. I know we've had an amazing conversation. You and your background, just totally impressive, by the way. You've done so much along your journey so far. You have some amazing things happening at HearMeChear. I know you told me some about that, which is really, I think changing the way we think about the future of the metaverse, the future of entertainment and audio. So I'm going to let you share that story better than I can. If you wouldn't mind just walking us through who HearMeChear is and what you guys are all about, that'd be great.
Yeah, thanks for having us, Michael. I think I say that on behalf of kind of everyone else in this room today. It's really awesome what you guys are building at Web3 Waves, and I'm really excited to be here. But yeah, so I'm Elias Anderson, founder, CEO of HearMeChear. We have created the world's first social audio engine designed specifically for the metaverse. So basically, the big problem that a lot of metaverses have faced, the audio engines are not really designed for virtual experiences. So a lot of how it works is you walk up to another person, you start talking to them, and then all of a sudden, you can only talk to that person, or you can only talk to the 3 or 4 people that are closest to you. But Scott might know this better than anyone else on this panel, but what happens when you're in, a concert and you want to try and recreate that environment? So we've created an audio engine that allows us to have hundreds of thousands of inputs from people all over the world and have them accurately act as if you would in a stadium setting, a virtual event setting, a conference. So whether that's, one-on-one interactions, so whether that's Michael and I want a quick chat, or whether it's, I just want to be part of the entire audience as the band that's on stage is performing, or, the CEO is giving his massive lecture to 10,000 employees, and he says, how's everyone's day going? And he wants a response from the crowd. Well, guess what? In Zoom, in all these virtual event platforms, you can't currently do that due to existing audio infrastructure. So we're redefining the way that audio is presented in the metaverse, kind of one metaverse at a time. And we have done a little over 500,000 events in the metaverse, and in real life, or in like physical event environments since the start of COVID. So we've worked with anyone from major sports organizations to major political organizations. We've done some stuff for elections. We've done stuff for teams in the EPL. We've pretty much covered every different sector, from sports to esports to politics to a lot of virtual and metaverse events. And I'll kind of show you how this works. I'll share my screen here really quick.
Awesome. Thank you, Elias.
So yeah, basically realize that virtual events are super popular, growing here to stay, but at the same time, they're super unengaging in one way. And then this huge audio gold rush happened where all these companies started releasing audio products. So there was so much investment into audio, but none of that investment was actually going into the future of entertainment, which is the metaverse and all these existing and futuristic virtual event platforms. So that's where we kind of were like, well, these events really don't feel authentic because, take Clubhouse, for example. Elon Musk did a speech on Clubhouse, 100,000 people tuned in, and not a single one of those people ever were able to ask him a question. So they call it social audio, but there's nothing social about that. That's glorified radio, right? Mm-hmm. And so what we thought is, let's, basically take what a lot of other platforms are doing with all these different things and actually build an API that will allow us to create the world's first truly social audio engine, from everything from crowd interaction to fan performer interaction to even like person-to-person interaction with, you as a crowd can kind of talk to each other. So I have a quick demo here to kind of show you what it sounds like. This is an MLS game that we did. And so the first 10 seconds or so are no crowd and no HearMeCheer, and then the next 10 seconds are no crowd, but 5,000 HearMeCheer users actually pushed into the broadcast, and you could hear all the users completely synchronized together chanting, "Let's go Red Bulls." So here, I'll just play this. Let me know if you get audio.
Kimmich dropping back to gather, as is his wont. Lewandowski in behind.
So that was the boring one.
That did to rejuvenate Bradley Wright Phillips. Now in his mid-30s, and he has yet to play a game, flanked by Carlos Vela and Diego Rossi.
So that's 5,000 actual HearMeCheer users being pushed into the broadcast. Could you guys hear that all right?
Yep.
The audio came through? Yep. Okay, awesome.
Yes.
So that was that. And then basically we realized that one of our biggest opportunities is actually the metaverse and Web3 in general, because all these people, hopefully in the future we'll have millions or billions of people in the metaverse all interacting, and they want those interactions to be as real life and realistic as possible. That's just not currently possible with the existing infrastructure, because as I said before, you have 4 or 5 people that are all kind of talking to each other, but they can't hear anyone that's beyond that little inner circle. And so trying to create those actual lifelike interactions, that's really where we're going to have a lot of success in the metaverse. In terms of addressable market, obviously with the metaverse growing and all the projections there's a huge market for visual and audio things. Like I say here, people always think about the metaverse as a visual engine, but it's like the metaverse is actually 50% visual, 50% audio. And audio is going to catch up eventually. It's just that people like to build visual first because it's easier to show off. It's cooler, and so once the audio side catches up, it's companies like HearMeChear that are going to be doing the same things that right now people think of in Unity and Unreal and different things like that. But yeah, that's kind of it. We've done a lot of different events and with a lot of different partners. Our team is really what's allowed us to do this, and our team, our CTO, PhD in astrophysics, our just our entire team is just really stacked in terms of really being able to build out this product, and I'm really fortunate to kind of have them around me.
Yeah.
But
I'd love to comment on this. First of all, I think it's really important what you're doing because, I don't know if you remember through COVID, we were doing tons of live streams, and it is so painful because you play, the band is rocking, and then you finish, and there's nothing, right?
Yeah.
It's just dead silence. So you're solving that. Now, so are you saying, just out of curiosity, it's not just one location. You're basically muxing together lots of audio streams into one stream. So in other words, I can have, 50 different people, 100 people on a stream, and then I can have everybody's audio feed to me through my speakers?
Yeah, so our biggest event we've done is 25,000 people, and we had over 100 countries represented in those 25,000 people because everyone's just talking into their phone or computer, whatever they're watching the event on, and they're allowed to be anywhere in the world, and it still works. It synchronizes everyone. It figures it out.
This is a big problem you're solving, and I think is really important. So yeah, congratulations, because it's one we've been working on. I actually filed for a couple patents in this space because of the problem that you're solving. So it's interesting to see what you're doing in this. And yeah, very, very cool. Because I think it's really important because the audio sensation is one of the things that's missing from this whole experience that needs to be solved.
100%. And just, just anecdotally, a lot of platforms come to us and they're like, hey, audio is not our main focus at the start. We got to build a great visual engine so that we can actually go out and raise money. But recently, in the last, I would say, month and a half, we've gotten a lot of those metaverse platforms that have started to come back to us and say, we're getting closer to launching our visual side. Now we're starting to look into audio. And audio, in Web 2, it's the same way. Audio is the second thing. Everyone watched videos first, and then they were like, okay, let's look at all the audio experiences, and now podcasting is huge. So that's where I think, we come in.
So is your business model, is it like you have a set of APIs, and if I've got a metaverse, I can take your engine and plug it into my system? Is that how it works? What's the business model, or how does that work?
Yeah, exactly. So we have an API basically that you make a call to. So you say, oh, I want this participant to join in this room. You can allow participants to join into different rooms. As far as our business model goes, we're a monthly SaaS-based model. So based on your usage, we'll set you up on a SaaS plan. That'll be, a typical client could be anywhere from $500 to $2,000 a month to use our technology for their entire back-end audio software for their platform.
Got it. Is there any technology or anything so there's they don't have to download a mobile app or any kind of thing. It's just, this is basically, okay, got it.
We integrate fully into all these metaverse platforms, into all these virtual event platforms, concert platforms, whatever it might be.
Yeah. Good one, dude. I'm so happy you're doing this as a music guy. It's great.
Yeah,
thank you.
Totally awesome. Elias, I would normally say you're under the radar, but because we're Web3 Waves, I'm going to say you're undercurrent because it's, you guys are the surprise. I mean, you're coming. You're coming for the metaverse, the augmented realities. And that's a question I have actually is how does this integrate into, AR in addition to just straight metaverse? Is that a possibility as well?
Yeah, it totally is. So,
Cool.
the way that we integrate into AR is as you're kind of moving you have your glasses on, or as you're kind of moving your phone, you're looking in different ways, and we can kind of figure out which way you're looking and be like, hey, look, this is what the audio should sound like. And if you're in a concert and you're looking around, you pan your head that way, you hear all the people on that side, actually yelling and singing, and then you pan over and you hear the people on that side actually yelling and singing. So you could even, as a concert, you could think about, or as an artist, you could think about selling tickets, higher scale tickets to certain people, and then they get better AR experiences, which in turn gives them better audio experiences. That's like an upsell instead of just selling a single digital ticket like everyone does right now, which is $13. Now you could sell all these kind of additional packages on top.
I feel like we're in Field of Dreams right now because you're building it, and maybe soon they're going to come, right? So it's really, really cool stuff.
Very cool.
Scott,
Yeah.
any other questions? I know you were driving that. I'm excited.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm just thinking through. So if there's any, I just feed you an audio feed. That's it, right? That's all I have to do is feed you a standard audio feed. If I have your engine built into our thing, now, is that engine? Yeah.
Yeah, so we work on WebRTC. So you feed us.
Okay.
You basically open up a WebRTC stream directly to us.
Got it. Okay, great.
That's
Brilliant.
awesome.
Killer, man. I'm
Yeah,
happy
it's
to see
really
this.
sweet.
I'm happy to hear this is happening.
Really cool stuff. I want to open this up to Tony, Nelly, and Anthony. Tony, as another Web3 expert, somebody who's listening in to try and get another perspective, and then Nelly and Anthony on the investment side. Love to get your feedback or questions for Elias.
I'd just like to say anything like this is cool to me. So I'm also I'm a developer myself, and I like this kind of stuff. But so I guess all this stuff is going to be required anyway. So instead of build all that infrastructure, manage all that infrastructure, that's what you're basically going to sell to. Like if I want to build my own metaverse someday, and even is this going to be used in like I'm also an MMO gamer. I could see this as also part of that maybe as well. Is that where you envision that? Because some of these game chats, it's like you're only hearing the people you're in your group, but also there's all this other stuff kind of going around outside of you. And I would imagine as games become even more immersive with VR technology, that's what you're going to further leverage is through games who want to do this. Instead of build all that infrastructure themselves, you're going to enable that, right?
Yeah, and the magic of our platform is kind of at scale. So that's why with games it's not quite as sort of necessary. But I will say like streaming is something else that we're really focused on, where like Twitch streamers could be streaming and they could actually have their 10,000 people watching actually comment and live, talk to each other about what's going on in that stream all at once. So we're definitely more focused on the bigger scale of things, which basically pushes us more towards the streaming side than the actual gaming side. But definitely our engine could still work for any MMO, that platform that you were working on.
Can you add this into like Zoom or any of these other type of platforms?
Exactly. Actually, one of the key reasons that we kind of started was a friend of mine was saying that at their company, it's like 7,000 people, and they're on the events team, and they were saying that their CEO was getting really frustrated with just talking into like a blank Zoom empty screen or whatever, and they wanted some feedback. Like if they say, "How's everyone's morning?" they expect everyone to say "Woo" or "It's good" or something, and you can kind of hear feedback from the crowd. So that's definitely an area.
That's really important for the artists, because we were doing things during COVID where I set up where I had screens like 10, 15 feet away from the band, completely surrounding the band, and had everybody on the screen. So I had like 200 people on screens, right? 200 different photos. But the problem was obviously when you turn it on, it's feedback, nobody can talk. And when we finished, and it was actually very compelling, I got to say, when you've got that many people staring at it, it's like everybody's in the front row. Right, so I could see that, but the biggest issue was the audio, because the musicians, we get no feedback, and that's what gives us excitement, is hearing the band back and stuff. So I could see that being very valuable in this space. I love this. I think this is really important.
Yeah, it's awesome.
Sweet.
Nelly,
Yeah.
it looks like Nelly has a question.
Yes.
Yeah, thank you. Do you hear me well?
Yeah.
Okay, Elias, thanks a lot for your presentation. And I see, I'm not a music person, but I see how Scott is excited, so it makes everyone else excited as well. I want to ask a couple of questions. First of all, who are your clients, your target audience? Are there advertisers or event organizers or anyone else? Because in your presentation, which you didn't show in full scale during your pitch, there is a lot of focus on advertisers' value. Whom are you selling to?
Yeah, so we sell directly to event organizers. Platforms is a big one, so either Metaverse platforms that run events. So like, if anyone's familiar with like the Hopin or Zoom or something like that, like not that any of those we've worked with, but those would be like our target clients. We work with a lot of sort of medium-sized, even like medium-sized influencers and creators who are actually like creating. They have a whole brand around themselves, and they want to take like basically their brand and take it to the next level where they can interact with every single one of their fans during their event. So kind of a mixture. We've also worked with a lot of like sports teams and leagues. We're still early, so figuring out our business model is still kind of a little bit fluid at this point.
Okay, another question. You mentioned that you served both, let's say, Web2 events, and also you are going to sell to metaverses. My question is, where is Web3 element in your project? Because if I understood it correctly, you are Web2 SaaS project serving Web3 market in addition to other markets, right or not?
Yeah, so we don't have any crypto or anything like that kind of like built into our platform, like nothing on the blockchain side of things. But we are like in essence, we're a metaverse audio engine. So I would consider our product built for the Web3 market in that sense. But there's nothing very ultra specific. We're Web3 in the same way that Unity and Unreal are Web3.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And this presentation today is in order to get more visibility for your project or to get funded?
Yeah, so we're actually raising a round right now, which I haven't quite gotten into. But we are raising $5 million on a safe right now in pre-seed capital. So we held off on funding for a long time intentionally so we could build up both our user base, our customer reviews, and different things like that. And now we're finding it's becoming the right time to kind of go out and raise that money. So started about 2 weeks ago. We've started to get some intros into VCs, and I've started to have some early dialogue on that round.
Yeah. Although it's a safe, real quick question. Since it's a safe, what kind of valuation range are you looking at roughly?
Yeah, so I mean, like we're not set on a specific exact safe valuation cap, but we were looking somewhere between around 40 million was our valuation cap. But obviously, then if we raise later, the way a safe works, just as a quick side, is that if we raise at 25 million later, you still get in at that $25 million round, right?
It's just crazy. I mean, I love it, but it's just crazy to hear these valuations. It's mind-boggling. So where are you in the business cycle right now? So you have customers. How big is your team? What is the company makeup right now?
Yeah, so we're 11 people. We're mostly engineers, and then we have a head of sales, myself, and then a lead designer. On top of kind of our development team. Our development team is all in-house. We've been working on this project for this like HearMeChear for over 2 years, actually approaching 3 years now. So we were very early on in terms of like building out in the virtual event space, and we really see our intellectual property as something that's super important. And I think that if we're able to hit the different metaverses and come after them as we are, I think we'll have no problem filling out this round.
What about your break even and stuff? I mean, where does that happen and your growth? And so you raise $5 million. How are you going to spend the money? Where do you hit break even? What is that?
Yeah, so we're trying to expand into we have about 17 metaverse platforms right now that we're currently working on getting into. And once we kind of get into all of those, which some of them are like fairly big names, we'll be the exclusive audio engine for all of those platforms. And they're all doing events and different things. So that's how we're planning on growing. We're supposed to, like, our sort of projections show us hitting that break-even point in about 2.5 years. But we'll probably have to raise more money before then. So we're kind of in the venture side of things where we're going to raise as much money as we can, because it's a dogfight to win the audio race with a number of other big competitors kind of in the market. But I at the same time, I do think that we're doing a really good job so far, and given that we've raised $300K to date, we've done 500,000 events. So we've been very, very minimal in terms of what we've been able to spend so far.
You can raise a lot of money if you got a $40 million market cap and you're only selling, another $10 million. What's the deal? Because, usually the standard on the venture side is a third, right? For a startup in your phase, they would want to own a third of the company for whatever it is. But yeah, I mean, if you can get those valuations, it's crazy. I love it. And I think what your product is, I really do think it has value. It would seem to me that if I was you, the people I'd be focusing on is Zoom and freaking Google Talk, all those Web2 spaces right now, because they could come in and just take this whole thing over. I mean, they would just love it because they've already got a massive audience. They need this tool set built into their infrastructure. So I would, my suggestion would be is I'd be talking to those guys big time right now, because if you've got that solution and you can turn that on for them, I think that's got a lot of value, and you could take your company to the next level pretty fast if you could close one of those, right?
Yeah, for sure. And we're definitely open. Like, more than anything, we're trying to find the right partner. We've had people offer us funding before, and we're like, I don't think we're the right partner. We don't see eye to eye on what we think the metaverse is going to be and stuff like that. And so if the right partner was to come along and make us an offer that was lower than that, we would definitely consider it and stuff like that. But,
I personally think the web, the metaverse is just this is more of a real-time two-way application, right? Because you're solving a big problem in that. So metaverse is one piece, and that's still small and growing. But I think the Web2 space for all this conferencing and abilities to be able to bring into, Tony Robbins' thing, to be able to bring the folks into people on screens, and yeah, I would still keep my head very much focused in the Web2 space for a while, and look at Web3 is definitely an addition. But right now, if you can solve this problem for these big two-way, communications networks that are building this stuff out, I mean, man, dude, you get the right person to take you walking in the door. If you have that solution, you could be like on fire, like ding, ding, like that fast. That would be my suggestion anyway.
Yeah, no, it's brilliant, Scott, and Nelly as well, and Tony. And, I think riding that wave is so key. I agree 100%. You ride that wave, you surf it, so to speak, and then you get to Web3 as another add-on and bolt-on. You're the first to market there because you have that type of momentum, which is game-changing. So I don't want to leave Anthony off. Anthony, last but not least, I'd love to get your perspective on all of this. There's a lot of substance here, and anything you want to add to the mix.
Yeah, no, I mean, you've answered a lot of things that I had written down to ask today, and it was interesting when before I was reading your deck earlier today, I went over to Google and just typed in some key things, and you came up in everything that I typed in on Google, which was pretty amazing. Just trying to see if there was any competition out there. And it's interesting that you were, built on a WebRTC. I mean, that's what I was going to ask. I mean, I have some experience in that space. I mean, my background is primarily tech, and I moved sort of into VC and into syndication. But it's really interesting. So like, what are your growth plans here? I mean, I see this product working in lots of different applications and instances out there where maybe you can even offer like a proof of attendance that's minted and stamped on the blockchain eventually. And the only reason why I bring that piece up is because I had a conversation with somebody a few weeks ago that was trying to build something with this like proof of attendance piece, like blockchain agnostic, and they just were running into so many roadblocks. So I do know that it's needed out there, but I don't know if you guys have ran into that, if you've thought about that in the past, or if that's in your roadmap.
Yeah, I mean, it's not directly in our roadmap right now, and we're really careful about what we take on as a startup. We're trying to stay, as laser focused as we can on building the future that we want. And so in terms of our growth plans, we're really building towards what we call our North Star vision, which is to really have just an incredible audio experience for all types of events. So eventually we want to get into, being the full stop audio solution for, anyone from, Zoom or artist who wants to do a virtual event or a metaverse or any of the above, or a sports team. We want to be like that mixing board that can mix everything together, bring everyone together, and really create the next thing.
Yeah, because real-time two-way is everything, right? And so you're actually making real-time two-way work. in the way that it needs to work. And like I said, I think this is a huge deal. You got to move fast because, I mean, sure, there's other people working on solving this problem.
Yeah.
I mean, it's one that I've been involved with. Like I said, I filed 2 patents on this space because of just what you're talking about. So, yeah, man, I think you got a shot here. And again, I would not leave out the Web 2 space, guys, right now. I think that's your home run. And then you can, follow back on the web, the Metaverse stuff. Also, I want to talk to you after this because I'm doing a big Super Bowl event with all Web3 stuff, and I'd be very interested to find out if we could integrate your stuff into that. So
that's awesome. Yeah, happy to chat. I think Michael's left my email and stuff like that.
Okay, great.
Yeah, Elias, if you could share everything with everybody here, that would be great. Again, your background is impressive. What you guys are building is beyond impressive. I think, as everybody has said, Scott, Nelly, Tony, Anthony, the sky's the limit here. I think cornering this market share is huge. And if you can share that contact information with our group, with our community, we're going to help you get there as fast as we can because this is exciting stuff. So if you wouldn't mind dropping it there, that'd be great. And equally, anybody else, feel free to get back in touch with Elias after this event, after this demo day. I want to transition if we can at this point, but thank you everybody for your questions. Of course, Elias, thank you for being here and presenting this.
Good job, Elias.
Yeah.
making us proud, buddy.
Thank you so much for having us, Michael. Really appreciate it.
Yeah, you bet. Excited. Yeah. So next presenter is Sammy from EtherScore. Sammy, it's so great to have you here. We're thrilled to hear more about EtherScore and what you're building. If you wouldn't mind taking us through what EtherScore is all about, what you're doing as a result of NFT badges and on-chain proof of experience. We'd love to hear your story and presentation.
Yes, so hi and thanks for hosting this space. So I will present you the project EtherScore, which is a decentralized reputation system. So we often say that data is the new gold, but what if I told you that blockchain data are the new untapped gold mines? Because indeed, most blockchain analytics platforms are today focusing on all the aspects of trading indicators or data about the nodes, the consensus, etc. But very few are focusing on the users. And so we identify that Web3 is lacking some users' profile. And we will see that it causes a lot of limitations. So here are examples of reputation present in Web2. So we can see that it is very contextual. It is present in social networks, in video games, marketplaces, etc. But in Web3, the only reputation available is the transaction history. So it is very complex. It is not practical. You have to give context to each transaction, and it is very cumbersome and not really understandable for the basic humans. So this lack of user profile is limiting a lot of aspects. So we see that airdrops are farmed by VCs and bots, DAO votes can be bought, and DeFi is very limited also compared to CeFi. So that's why we propose a solution of building reputation as NFT badges. So how to do this? We analyze all the on-chain action of the users, and we give them the ability to claim badges based on their achievements. So you can do the analogy with loyalty programs or the trophy system present in video games, something like this. So how to do this? First, the dApps will define the badge eligibility condition, for example, having done 10 swap on Uniswap or having voted in 5 DAO proposals. Then they publish the badge as an NFT, the users come to claim it, and they simply have to reward the badge holders with any incentives such as discounts, or can be also ICO access, airdrop access, but also voting power for DAOs. So why build on-chain reputation? We want to give the ability for dApps to incentivize and identify the reputable users. And then they will be able to build a new kind of reputation-based services, such as under-collateralized loans, etc. So representing this reputation as NFT give a lot of advantages, such as interoperability. So all the reputation of the users will be usable in all the dApps present in the ecosystem. It brings also auditability because the NFTs contain all the data required to verify that the users was eligible at the time of claiming, etc. But also composability, because anyone will be able to build on top. We can think about staking the reputation NFTs. We can think about a lot of different aspects built on top of it. So here is a short demo of our alpha version. So we released this version 1 month ago on a testnet. So we started with a small collection of badges based on users' contribution. For example, if you have donated in Gitcoin, you can claim a badge. If you have a profile on Lens, or if you are verified on Proof of Humanity, you can claim a badge. And then we will do a small experiment with using those badges to define the vote weight in our DAO. So instead of using the one token, one vote model, we will use the model of one badge, one vote. So if you have claimed 5 badges, you have a voting power of 5 in our DAO. So some numbers, we have more than 4,700 NFT badge claimed by more than 2,100 holders. So you can go today on alpha.etherscore.network to see if you are eligible for a badge and be part of our DAO. So the team is composed of me and Geoffrey. We are both French blockchain researchers, and we are interested in decentralization for public good. Our clients are first the dApps, which will issue badge to identify their reputable users, and then the users which will come to claim those badges to build their reputation and access incentives. So we released our alpha version 1 month ago, and we just closed our pre-seed round with venture capitals. And the idea is to release a beta version in the beginning of the next year and do an ICO and mainnet release Q3, Q4 of the next year. So thanks, and feel free to contact us for any details or collaboration. So if you have questions.
Great job, Sammy. Thank you for presenting what you're working on at EtherScore. I'd love to open this up. Scott, Tony from the Web3 panel expert side, Nelly and Anthony from the investment side. Would love to get your perspective here.
I have a question. I always have questions. So does this mean, do I have to, in order to get a badge, do I have to tie my actual data, like all my personal information, to be in that? Or can I be an avatar that builds a community that can I stay basically anonymous?
Yeah, you can say anonymous. So it will depend also on the badge you claim. For example, most of the badges we deployed today are based only on on-chain actions. So it will be just interaction with DAO. So if you have bought some NFTs on OpenSea, or if you have participated in DAOs, you can claim the badges, and we don't have any KYC mandatory or thing like this. But to add a layer of like KYC on-chain or Sybil resistance to be able to avoid all the bots, etc., we can think about using protocols such as Proof of Humanity, which are more new kind of KYC which can be used on the Web3.
Yeah, because my biggest concern is what's happening now, right? I mean, obviously we have this, if we get connected to this blockchain with all of our stuff, right, starts getting a little scary. That's why I'm a total decentralized person. I hate the idea of the CBDC coin. I think that happens, humanity's over. It's like we're done. We're completely cooked. It's game over. So anytime we start getting into things where I'm tying myself to a blockchain of some sort, I get a little concerned about that problem, right? I mean, how does that work? Because the last thing I want to do is be everything I do from now on, the privacy, the tracking, the understandable. I mean, there's pros and cons of this. I can see all the good side of it, but one of the things we hardly ever talk about, which I actually had a big conversation to buy with when we were there, is we got to look at the dark side of all this stuff at the same time and see where the problems are going to lie, because we could be trapped really quickly. And if you look at what's happening with AI and all these things that can happen, it gets a little bit frightening. So first of all, I love the idea of what you're talking about, because I think that's important to verify who you are, you're doing stuff. I think that's great. The questions I have are just like, okay, how does that work from my own personal identity, and how am I tying myself to something? So that's my question.
No, so thanks for bringing this. We are completely sharing all this vision. The idea is that we are only providing all the, we can call it the badge factory, all the necessary for the dApps to deploy badges based only on on-chain actions. So all the data we are using are already present in the chain, they are already public, and we are only doing an aggregation of this into NFTs to make them more easily queryable, thing like this. But yes, we for now not any KYC, but also on the aspect of reputation, because we are, as I said, we only provide the tools for the dApps to build their own reputation model. We are not building a new kind of reputation. We are not telling this user is reputable or not. We just provide the tools for the dApps to build their own reputation, because we think that they are the most capable. We do not want to build a new credit score or something like this. We will let the dApps experiment with this and provide the best for them.
Got it. Okay, cool.
Awesome.
I have a question.
Nelly, Tony, Anthony, any thoughts, questions, feedback from you guys?
Yeah, I have a question. So when I was looking at this, one problem I kind of saw that this was solving is, I could have an account in this software or this, let's say, application or whatever. And now when I start a new account, I got to bring everything over there and start from scratch, right? And so when I hear the interoperability, my question to you is one of the purposes enabling like partnerships with different types of softwares or applications or user accounts in general that may be like complementary of each other, that aren't competitors. Now, if I'm already here and I built up a good reputation, now maybe I can have some advantages on this other platform, and as such, that will help grow the user count. So it enables, actual money to change hands through actually bringing users onto the platform while enabling both parties to be successful. Can you expand on that and how that might fit into your vision?
Yeah, so for now, we do not want to really open all this aspect, because it will also enable a lot of tricks, a lot of cheats. People selling their reputation. Like, for example, most people in the cryptocurrency space have multiple addresses and not only one address. But we do not want to bring the capability for the users to claim a badge on an address based on the data of another address, because a lot of people will sell this reputation. We do not want to build a system where someone can buy himself his reputation. We want to be sure that the badge owned by your users come from the actions that he have done. And if we bring the system to link multiple addresses or things like this, it will open the door to a lot of limits like this, and we don't want to focus on this aspect. But it can be some solution with Zcrack proof and things like this, but for now we are only focusing on the data linked to one account to be sure that the action were really performed by the user.
Okay, so if it's interoperable, like what are the interoperability benefits of it throughout a couple different platforms then? Like, because there's ways to prevent people from selling things, there's a way to prevent people from transferring things, there's a way to ensure that it's always in the same wallet. So I'm just curious on how the interoperability kind of takes shape, because to me that's an important part of this. If I'm a reputable user on a platform, someone else on a similar platform should be interested in bringing me over there. And if it's legitimate, then that would be very beneficial for both parties to have that relationship, and that's money changing hands. So I'm just kind of curious on how how will this make money, and then how will it help companies actually grow their user counts?
Yeah, so I forgot also to mention that badge can be non-transferable, so-called Sobun tokens. So, and as soon as you have collected some badges, you can have what we call the reputation. It's just the aggregation of different badges. And then as soon as someone have multiple badges, he can be identified, for example, as a DeFi expert or as an NFT expert. And other projects can reuse this NFT because they are public transferable. That's why we are talking about interoperability, because if only one project is building reputation with some badges, all the other projects can use the same reputation, the same badges to identify and reward their users. And Also, for the new project which want to bootstrap their community, they can target and focus directly a specific audience. For example, a DeFi project can target all the users which have the Uniswap and the Yon Finance badges, because he knows that this is his right specific audience.
And what's the business model? How do you make money? Where is your money? Do you sell the badges? Somebody buys it, or how does that work?
Yeah, the idea is that the badge will be payable. We will define a small protocol fee in the badges, paid in our own token, the ETS token, and we'll have all a profit sharing system managed by the DAO. So we will only take a small fee for the company, and then we will redistribute the profit equitably among all among the DAO and also all the users which stake our token, which put the token at stake. And we will also offer some consultancy service where a DApp wants to delegate to us all the work to build the badges, because some will prefer to use directly our interface to customize a lot of things, but others will prefer to delegate all the work and give us the task.
Sammy, I want to say that first of all, I really like the concept of the project, and I have so many questions that probably, and I will be glad to have a separate follow-up call with you to dig into details. Otherwise, it will take another hour of the time. But just a couple of questions. I didn't hear anything from you regarding competitors. However, there is competition in this sector, and I think that this competition is quite weird by default, because these kind of companies and projects should partner with each other. I also didn't hear anything about your partners, by the way. So could you please elaborate on this part?
Yeah, so when we had the idea more than 1 year ago, there was no one on the market. Now we have some competitors, like notably since Vitalik Buterin released a paper on Soulbound tokens. It's like the new trend of social aspects in the blockchain, etc. But our main concurrential advantage are based on decentralization. So we are not a third party, we are not a trusted entity. We are just combining different bricks. We are using Chainlink Oracle and the Graph protocol, etc. to be as decentralized as possible. So when badges are issued, EtherScore do not engage himself. We are just providing the tools, and we are not. We don't have the ability to cheat on the eligibility compared to other where all the protocol, all the eligibility check are done internally. And it brings a lot of centralization and single point of failure, where this company can distribute badges to users which were not eligible, things like this. And we will also focus on the customizability aspect. So we will provide Soulbound tokens, but also we will let the ability for dApps to choose if they want to be transferable. For example, we can think about badge which can be a coupon, discount coupon, which can be burned. And this one can be, for example, transferred to someone else because it's not really as sensitive as the other ones. And we will also provide customizability on all the management life cycle of the badge, the revocability, and things like this.
Okay, then one step back, please. How do you yourself identify your project? Is it the global reputation for Web3 community members? Or is it, as it is written in one of your slides, for dApps it's gamify community engagement? So do you target specific vertical in Web3?
So no, our project is very agnostic. It is applicable to all blockchain sectors, so DeFi, DAOs, GameFi, and for now we will try to focus more on the aspect of DAOs, because we think it is really easy to understand that the current voting systems are not the best ones. And so for now we are focusing a bit on DAOs, but it is also applicable to DeFi and NFTs and all the other aspects. Was it the question, or?
Yes, you answered it. Yeah, for sure, for sure. I think just a short piece of advice I should use. I think you should study your competitors a little bit better because I don't think it's true that a year ago there was nothing and there was nowhere in this market. I know a couple of companies that are doing very, very similar stuff, but in different technological way and without, for example, NFTs or whatever, right? But all of you targeting very, very similar market. And it's the question who would be able to make the real global reputation, right? And yeah, this is another thing that I would love to ask, but I don't know if you can answer why you think your project can reach this level of adoption in Web3.
Because some of our competitors we saw are otherwise too much centralized, and in this game we really think decentralization will gain on the long term as soon as we will highlight some failures and things like this. And also we are really trying to provide the tool and an open tool for the DAOs, and we do not want to focus on building the reputation for them. And we saw a lot of also competitors focusing on this aspect, like working on AI and machine learning, etc., to build credit score. But for us, it is really limiting the use cases, and we think we are not the best one to identify the needs of the DAO, because as I showed with the reputation in Web2, it is very contextual. Each website has its own reputation and things like this. So a DAO will prefer to give more voting power to the contributors, another one maybe to other users and things like this. So I think the openness and the customizability of our products will gain in long term.
Amazing, thank you. I will keep the rest questions for our follow-up call, but I would love to.
Happy to answer. Thanks.
Amazing questions, as always, from everybody. Anthony, anything else to add before we venture forward? I know we're running a few minutes over today.
No, absolutely no. I mean, going down the DAO route, I think is very smart. I've been involved in several DAOs here as of recent, and the business models are just completely broken with them. So one question I do have for you is, do you plan on taking like a management fee out of the DAO? Will that come out of like your treasury, or have you thought about that piece yet?
Yes, so we will take a fee at the moment of the issuance of the badge, and we will only take a small fee for the company, and the rest will go to the DAO and the token stakers. And then the DAO will be used to a lot of different aspects, but one which is very interesting is the aspect of creating the EtherScore collection. So we will also use our own product to deploy some badges, and the community will be able to create, for example, choosing what are the next badges or revoking some badges because we identified some fails and things like this. So we will try also to do, yes, an aspect of community creation with our DAO.
Okay. And in your deck, you showed a screenshot of EtherScan. Is that where you're pulling in your data, like specifically?
No, so we try to use the most decentralized sources. So for now, we are using the Graph protocol by querying Chainlink, using Chainlink.
Okay, perfect, great. Yeah, no, this is very, very interesting. One company I think you should look into is they go by the name of Civic. I could see if I could drop a link here. I know Nellie's shaking her head. She probably knows of them. So I've gone through like KYC and KYB with them for various things that I've worked on throughout my career. I had to get doxed on a project, and they specifically wanted me to use that. And I don't really know what I got out of that, but it seemed like they're like the leader in the space. There might even be a way to partner with them somehow to bring in that KYC and KYB data into your NFTs, and then that NFT could be used for various things out there, because Like right now for me, all of my data is tied to EtherScan or Polyscan. And if you look at that, it looks like I'm basically a guru in DeFi and NFTs, right? But like it goes so much more beyond that. So I would see about getting in touch with them. I actually even know some individuals over there. If you're interested in speaking with them, I could definitely see if I could set up a call.
Yeah, great, thanks.
Brilliant. Well, love the presentation, Sammy. Great work. Love what you're building. Thank you, everybody. Scott, Tony, Nelly, Anthony, and all. Appreciate your comments, your questions, your feedback. I want to transition to our last presenter today, Michael from Getchkd. Michael and I had a great chat. He walked me through their model, what they're building. I think they have a pretty game-changing concept here and product and idea that's getting into markets, getting a lot of traction. It's not just proof of, they actually have customers. So, Michael, I'm going to let you take over if that's okay and share your story, your vision, and educate us a little bit more on Getchkd.
Sure. So, hi, everyone. I am Michael Kaplowitz. I'm the CEO of Getchkd. And we'll start with the problem. So we live in an increasingly digital and connected world, but with that connectivity means more data vulnerability. So data theft, tampering, privacy, security, and accuracy. And we believe that blockchain is the unifying solution for that more secure future, and it does address most of those issues we just discussed. It's a tremendously large market going into 2030 in the blockchain space, so well over $1 trillion in the financial sector alone, 12.4 billion by 2026. 1% of that market would be 124 million. So first I want to talk about what Getchkd is not. Getchkd is not an NFT or cryptocurrency company. We are a full suite blockchain infrastructure company. We connect all data, applications, platforms, and devices. So if you think about MuleSoft, what they do, connecting all data, applications, platforms, and devices, we're MuleSoft with the blockchain core. And that comes from a senior person from MuleSoft. So give you a little bit of background on my team. I am the founder and CEO, worked on Wall Street for around 22 years in institutional equity trading, then in writing algorithms, putting numbers on everybody and everything in the equity capital markets division of the bank. My CTO worked for one of the wealthiest families in America. He was the OG of the hedge fund world. He was head of all their cybersecurity, their quant derivatives teams, as well as their high-speed trading. My CTO was a professor of accounting, and then we have some other neuroatypicals on our team. So, what is it that we do? We build blockchain environments for our clients, and our clients essentially in their environment, there are user profiles and there is data. Data can be stored in that environment from that client or from other enterprises. So the client determines who can store data within that environment associated with that user profile. The only way to interact with that environment is via an API, which is hitting a smart contract. And that smart contract is then asking questions against the data that is on a private network, not accessible by the public internet. So just think of it as a Fort Knox of data. You can ask questions against data, but you never actually get access to the underlying data itself. This is a built platform. This is not a white paper company. Our competition in the space, Chainlink, which is Oracle, so they don't really have the blockchain. Forte, which focuses on wallets and the gaming sector. Then you have MuleSoft, which does a lot of the connectivity, but they do not have the blockchain. There's IBM that has pieces of the blockchain infrastructure, and they are a managed service provider. And then you have Corda, which is a enterprise blockchain, but they focus mainly on the financial sector and doing financial transactions incredibly quickly. So I'll get into our first users. So we did a proof of concept with a consultancy out of the UK. And this was at the beginning of COVID. They want to know how to get people back in the office safely, highlight what they can do as a consultancy, but also see what we could do to make something really cool. And they could show their clients how they could go from nothing to a fully built product within 12 weeks, really a fully built company. And so what we did for them was we connected all their employee records to their employees' health records around COVID directly to a lab. Then we connected that to a desk booking engine, a survey, hands-free access at the front door of the building, facial recognition, the turnstile, and the elevator. If their employees met all of those criteria, all those devices worked hands-free with or without a device on your person. Everything opened all the way through getting the elevator to your floor. If you did not pass all the criteria, nothing worked. The company could see none of the underlying data. They could only see a global yes/no, so they don't know what you did pass or didn't pass. But the users could see all of their underlying data within an iframe in the company's app. That was our proof of concept. They became my first investors after that, some of the partners from that consultancy. After that, we got our first paying client, which is the Bula app, Bula Challenge. If you look it up online, they just launched in the app stores, both Apple and Android stores, and it was some ex-professional athletes. They wanted to create a video-to-video app in which they could challenge anybody to anything, anytime, anywhere. Right now, it's just for bragging rights. Eventually, it will get into betting for merchandise or money. But right now, with that app, what we wanted to highlight was that we could do passwordless login. So there's no password to hack. When you set up your account with that passwordless login, creates your user profile in multiple blockchain environments. In the Bula environment specifically, it stores all the terms of the bet, when it begins, when it ends, what are the terms, who's the judge, who are the participants, who's the winner, who's the loser. All of the notifications within the app are triggered by smart contracts. The distributed video is actually stored using a company, so it's all distributed video. We actually store the video name, the video location on the user's profile. We anonymize it and dynamically create URLs on demand. So think about that for rights management when it comes to video or music or anything else. We write full rules around who has access to it, when they have access to it. So if you think about rights owners, you could make sure that they have control over who's accessing it, who's getting paid, when they're getting paid, how they have access to it, etc. So that's all built. There's case studies being written around that from the distributed storage company. The front-end developer already did a case study around this app, and we built the entire back-end. The entire back-end is on blockchain. We just got an AFWorks contract. That's a phase 1. That's Air Force last week. And now we're working on our next project. We're in negotiations with a voice biometric company, working with a couple credit card companies, and that's for non-repudiation. So it's around, I'm not who I said I am, or I didn't make the transaction. Yes, you did. Oh, well, I did make the transaction, but I didn't approve that amount to be spent. And we'll say, yes, you did. And so we're the immutable ledger associated with that. But the next phase would be associating different people with the same financial account and authorizing each individual based off of their voice. So you no longer would need a credit card number. You don't need a password to log in. And every member of your household or of your enterprise could have different permissions around the same financial account. So essentially, if you have a child in your house, you could say that voice biometric could only be used at Starbucks on the corner, for drinks under $5 Monday through Friday that are decaffeinated. You could say the person driving my car can fill up at that Shell station Monday, Wednesday, and Friday between these hours, and I have full rights to this financial account. So we'll start that project around first quarter of next year. We do have an issued U.S. patent. We have a continuation filed. We have patents filed in China, EU, and Japan as well. To date, we've raised $896,000. That's friends and family, so we've been bootstrapping. Still about $250 in cash. We have roughly $240,000 in revenue this year that we'll book. And then we have many things in the pipeline going forward. So with the money that we've spent, which hasn't been a lot, we've got a proof of concept, our first paying client, the issued patent, as well as the continuation filed and the other patents filed. That's where we are right now. So happy to take any questions.
Yeah, Michael, you're making big waves. We're excited for you. And I think the surf journey ahead is clearly documented here. I want to open this up to Scott. Tony, of course, on the panel side, and then Nellie and Anthony on the investment side, if that's okay.
Yeah. So who controls the data? I mean, is this like, because this is like you're saying, okay, because again, I always go to the fact that like, yeah, you can spend your money here, you can do that, but how does that, I mean, who controls that data? And if I decide to leave wherever I am, does that data come with me? Does that stay there? How does that work?
Well, it's a permission blockchain, so it's not a public blockchain. So people are permissioned in by the corporate client that actually sets up this environment.
Okay, got it.
So it'd be the company, and then you, the user, have an account with that company. That company decides who can ask questions against that data, but they never actually need to get to the underlying data. So that there's a lot of benefits of companies being able to enrich data through questions across the ecosystem, or being able to monetize that. So other companies can ask questions against that data, right? So does somebody meet X criteria to get served up X ad, or for that door to open, but they're actually not sharing the underlying data.
Okay. So again, but the company would, and so that would be between you and the company, whether or not, if I decide to leave the company, does my data go with me, or does that stay with the company? That's the question.
Well, that'll depend on the company's terms of use, which we don't write that.
Okay, got it. Yep. You don't have anything to do with that. Okay.
No, but GetChkd itself, our core product, we have a core environment, and that's basically a connector from your user IDs associated with all of our clients. So GetChkd as a company has no access to our users' data or to our clients' data. If our client says you can hit our API, right? So if somebody could hit the main GetChkd API, which hits all the other APIs, then we can maybe give one holistic answer, but that's only if our clients allow us to hit their API and ask that question. But GetChkd has none of the user data or none of the client's user data.
And then the company, but they can change the information, correct? I mean, it's just like what I can do. The company has the rights, or do I change that data along with the company?
You, the user, are you asking? You, the end user.
So the user, I mean, yeah, because again, you're saying you're going to take my, all this biometric stuff, and I can have rights, because you gave the example of going to, Starbucks. You can go to Starbucks and you can spend your money there. So if they come in and say, nope, you can't spend your money there more at Starbucks, does that allow them to have the control of controlling that, or is that something you have control of?
So or
is that just company based?
So it's going to be company based, right? So there's a lot of components that would be needed for that, right? So it's going to be the credit card company that we would be tied into, the voice biometric company that has the credit card contract. That would be them tying that credit card, the voice ability, into the Starbucks app, more than likely, right? So there's a lot of components that are connecting. We're the connectors. So we're not in the biometric space. Right. We're not in the financial space. What we are is we're a connector of all these, and we store answers to questions.
Got it. I got it. Okay. All right. Very interesting. I mean, it's incredible technology. I just worry always about somebody getting having too much power, right?
Well, look, if you look at a future state, if you're a public blockchain person, right, and you say there should be no trusted central party, there is a future, which I envision and will most likely be the case, where you don't need all the originating data sources. You become the originating data source. Everything gets written directly to your profile, and you have all the rights around it, right? That's just not where the world currently is. You have all the originating data sources, but it could eventually get to something along those lines in the future.
Yeah. Got it. Okay, cool.
Yeah. Great questions, everybody. Scott, thank you. Tony, any questions on your side? Nelly and Anthony, of course, as well.
Yeah, how do I invest? No, I have another question. I love this, by the way. I love this. I could see so many use cases.
Yeah, big
Michael,
time.
would you mind explaining how this could help with like the automation of like smart contracts? Like what you just described, like, yes, you did, no, you didn't, yes, you did, no, you didn't. That's what the smart contracts will really help us execute and get rid of all the mediation work that happens. That's also very expensive in some cases. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on how this will help solve that problem, because that's what I immediately caught on as you were speaking.
So right now, being an early company, there's not automation of smart contracts. There are creating the connectors from the different originated data sources via an API to store data, within a blockchain environment. But we're customizing right now for each of our clients. We're doing the chain code, right? And we're customizing the API for their environment. we do automate every layer as we build. So I do envision a world where it's more of a Zapier model. Yes, I want know your customer, anti-money laundering. Yes, I want distributed storage. Yes, I want passwordless. Yes, I want my blockchain environment. Right now we have the blockchain environment, the core blockchain environment automated. We can spin that up incredibly fast, and it's incredibly scalable because of the way it's architected. When it comes to the passwordless login, we can do that, and we can work with any other passwordless company, not just the one we already worked with. And when it comes to distributed storage, we can already do that, right? But there's still that period of time where you have to do the smart contracts, where it is more manual, and that's our setup fee, right? And where there's the APIs. And that gets into what's our pricing model. Our pricing model is we charge for these custom setups, right, for your customized environment. After we do that, there's ongoing support and maintenance fees, which is really, do you want 24/7 support? Do you want only during business hours? Do you want us to constantly upgrade all the components? That's included in the ongoing platform fee. And then we charge per transaction fees, and that's either per transaction fees around data via API calls, or per transaction fees. If a smart contract is actually triggering a financial transaction, then we would get a little fee of that.
Got it.
Excellent. I love this. By the way, this is really smart.
Thanks.
Yeah, I also love this a lot. I want to ask Michael, do you know the company SDX Network?
I do not.
Okay, I think they are your super close competitor, at least from what you've described so far. If you ping me later on, I can share with you their links, etc., so that you can study. They are based in Madrid, in Spain. By the way, where is your company based?
Atlanta, Georgia, and Texas.
In Texas. So I know that last year they already did some pilots with banks in Europe for the same for similar use cases, and I didn't hear anything during the last half a year. So maybe they could become your partner or distributor in Europe. We can discuss it later on. My question is, since you're a B2B product and you described all these aspects of your monetization, including integration fee and then later on multiply fees, the length of the deal closure with each client is unpredictable, right? So you wrote that by the end of this year, you will have already 2 or 4 clients, right?
Correct.
My question is, how do you actually plan to scale your business? Horizontally, getting more and more clients using your app?
Sure.
Yes.
Based off the current clients in the pipeline, they become sort of a hydra because of the number of companies that they're connected into. So when you get into, say, a voice biometric company that has relationships across the auto industry, the enterprise software industry that they're already working with, the credit card companies, it opens up a significant amount of doors. So we're sort of in the background under an existing vendor's contract. So that's definitely one way where we don't have to have a massive sales force because they're actually selling a product and we add extra value. With MuleSoft, they're actively trying to find us clients in the financial sector that we're looking at because we have the blockchain piece. So if they're making their money off API calls and now there's somewhere to store data, can they get more API calls and make more money, right? So we are going to leverage several of the clients in our pipeline where we go in under the hood and make stuff work and make their clients Web3 compatible very quickly. So it's always going to be forward-thinking CEOs, sort of like like an Uber type CEO or a Tesla type CEO, where they say, we're going into Web3. It's happening. I don't care what IT says because they don't want to break anything. We're going to break things. Find me the company that can do this. And after several hundred phone calls trying to get companies to care about blockchain or care about enterprise blockchains and telling them their use case, I was fortunate enough to hit on enough nerves that we've had the 5 that are in our pipeline reach out to us and say, we heard you exist. and is this true? And we show them what we have, our backend, actually our code, and the output of the code, and they say, I can't believe this is built, and then it moves fairly fast.
Sounds good for me. Yeah, I would love to be in touch with you. I'm sure organizers will be so sweet to help us to exchange contacts later on, and would love to have another call.
Great.
Yeah, brilliant. And Michael, one question for me: who's heading up growth, biz dev, enterprise side? What does that look like within GetChkd?
So right now we're mainly developers, and we're mainly the tech nerds, and we do have some financial heft with our CFO. But those are our first hires. Right. A go-to-market strategist.
Good hires today.
Go-to-market strategist who actually can execute on that, and biz dev. Those are people I've been talking to now. So those will be the very early hires, and then we'll augment the tech team with a few hires there as well.
Yeah. Well, I think just like we've talked about from the beginning to this point, you build a great product with a great solution in a very growth-focused, progressive market such as Web3, you're going to make waves. So I think you're doing a phenomenal job. Kudos to you. I absolutely love it. At this point, if it's okay, in the interest of time, I know Nelly has a hard stop at 1:30. I'm sure everybody else does as well. Would love to wrap up with any final questions for Elias, for Sammy, for Michael, from anybody here, starting with Scott, to Tony, to Nelly, to Anthony. Would love to open it up, just generic questions as we close up everything for today.
Yeah, I don't really have any questions other than the fact great companies, all of them. Like, this was actually good. I learned something, so I'm very thankful for that. Obviously, Elias, you fit me. We kind of fit right in the same groove. I need your solution right now. I mean, all the solutions are solutions we need, but I can already see that's one that I need right away. So great. And Michael, that's a crazy platform, man. That's incredible. And I guess one question is your platform, are you planning on is this going to be a self-serve type of thing, or is it always going to be, you're just going to be integrating into these companies?
Well, we can't build for every use case. It's just impossible. So right now we're going to focus a lot in the financial sector. However, I would love for people to have a good, better, best, where there is some type of self-service model for people to build on top of it, or companies to build entire companies on top of it. And then so sort of a Zapier mixed with a Red Hat type of.
Yeah. Cool. Well, I'm really happy to sit here because I feel like I'm sitting with a bunch of billion-dollar companies right here. That's really good. It's great stuff. Great stuff.
It's Web3 Waves, Scott. That's what it's all about.
Thank you for having me. This was very insightful. I'm really happy.
Awesome. That's fantastic. Great. Tony, Nelly, Anthony, anything else on your side? Questions, feedback, comments, anything else?
I just want to say great job, everyone. Thanks for the presentation. Thanks for the time. And this was incredible. I love learning about what's being built. Often we're trapped in our own worlds, working on our own stuff. And it's harder to break out, unless you're a VC person that gets these pitch decks all day long, which is not my world, right? So I loved learning about this and loved meeting fellow founders. So it's incredible, and I really loved it. Thank you.
Yes.
Thank you. No,
absolutely. It's been wonderful having everybody here. And, that's our goal, bring founders with creators, with the panel, with the investors, build the community. That's what it's all about, the community. I want to just recap here. We have a link in the chat for a live poll. We asked that everybody, if possible, if it's not too much trouble, to cast their vote for who they think offered the best pitch presentation that resonated with them as an individual. Those who vote anonymously as part of this Web3 effort, it will be anonymous here, we will take all those votes into consideration, and the winner of this live poll is going to get a special project audit from Tony here today, Tony Drummond, to really review, analyze, and help assist in their growth, just take it to the next level. So encourage everybody to do that before we jump off for today. It's truly been a pleasure having everybody here. As I think Scott and Tony and Ellie and Anthony have said, there's just phenomenal presenters, great projects, brilliant ideas. The market cap, the potential here is truly limitless. Sky's the limit for all of us.
You guys are the pioneers, right? You're all the pioneers. I love this. This is so good.
To organizers, because guys, you are not just connecting people and the dots, but also creating a lot of positive vibes. I really enjoy being with you here, and I want to mention that I was, I think, on one of the first of your events, and the quality of pitches grew exponentially, and even software works properly this time, so it's amazing.
That's right. Yes. Well, we appreciate that. That's the goal. Just keep the growth happening. Yeah. Well, it's phenomenal. And, just so everybody knows here, this is live stream on Discord, as I mentioned in the beginning. We'll be recording all of this for everybody to share, to distribute. Scott, it's really interesting to have you here. I mean, your legacy and what you've done in the music space is incredible, how you transitioned to Web3. So we really appreciate you being here, providing your perspective. It means a lot. And as always, Nelly and Anthony on the investment side, it's a treat to have you here to offer your guidance, your thoughts, your questions. And Tony, I know we had a great conversation the other day, so I really appreciate you being here too to offer your value-added perspective. Again, a quick thank you to Elias, to Sammy, to Michael. You guys did brilliant. I'm so excited to watch your success. It will be monumental, and we will ride those waves with you. Please follow us on Discord, guys. Keep that community engaged. If we can ever add value as a community, we're here to support you and keep making waves in Web3.
All right. Thanks, everyone.
Cool, Sam.
Thank you, buddy.
Good luck to all you guys.
Thank you. Thanks.
Good
Good
luck.
job.